Hello, today I'm going to talk about how to change a Brompton rear wheel cassette. The reason I'm doing it is because my cassette has somehow been damaged. It takes about 10 minutes to do, and the tools will need size 15 spanner, the chain, and also going to give my bike a wash, which is a good thing to do after removing the chain. Just make sure there's no grit and grime before replacing with new parts. First thing I'm going to do is remove this chain, and now with Brompton it's easy to actually remove the chain, as it has a quick link, and it's a matter of finding the quick link. So that's the first step, is to find the quick link. There we go. Now you can see that's the quick link, which looks different to all the other links, and it has a little gap there to remove it. Now there's two ways of removing it. One is to just simply use your hands and push them together, or use a tool to remove it. Now I'm going to be using a tool to remove it, and all you do is put that in, and there we go. So that unlocks it, and then we're going to remove that. That's the chain removed. Now, as you can see, the bike is pretty dirty, so the next step is I'm going to give it a good clean. So the bike's been given a clean. Now the next step is to start removing the rear cassette. So the first step is to remove the chain tensioner, the Sturmy Archer chain tensioner. And I've already marked this off with a marker pen, this nut, so I know where it goes. And then we just simply unscrew this 15mm spanner. We want to loosen this, so that's loose now. I'll get that off. Now, as I said, to remove that, we're going to take this nut off. Take that off. Remove that nut. I'm just going to pop this back on here so we don't lose it. Okay. Remove that together, and now this should just come off. Now you can take that, the chain tensioner, and give that a good wash as well, separately if you wanted, which is what I will be doing as well in a little while. So the next step is to remove the nuts. Now all of this, as I mentioned before, is the same process in case you need to change the rear wheel or rear wheel puncture. As I say, it doesn't take too long. Now remove that nut. There's a bit of grit within this. I'll give that a wipe before we put that away, before we lock that up again. So that nut comes out with that to the side. Now Brompton have these stays in place. You just use a little screwdriver to pop that off. And there we go, that's off. Again, take it off, put it down to this side. Now it's a similar procedure on the other side, of course more straightforward, as we've got, essentially we now have the wheel loose, and we just need to unloosen it, make sure the brakes are holding it. And the other thing you need to do is let down the tire pressure. Tire pressure down, comes off, a bit of a wiggle, and we get the tire out. There we go. So that's the removal of the tire, and as you can see, the cassette is in there, and that is a simple matter of unlocking it, and that's the next step. So now it's quite a simple matter of removing. There's a spring that holds this all in place, and it's a matter of just removing that spring using a screwdriver, and you just simply lift that off, and there we go. That's a spring that comes off, and you sometimes have to do both sides just to lift that off. And there we are. That's the spring off now. Once that's off, then the cassette comes off fairly easily. There we go. So I know this is a 13T, which is generally written on. The next one, and I know also this is a 16. Again, it has a spacer between it, so remove the spacer. That to one side and remove it, and again I know this is a 16 because it's written on it. Now I'm also going to remove this protector, and as you can see there's grease there. I'm going to need to make sure we put some more grease when we finish up. This is also a good opportunity to give this all a nice clean, and just wipe all the grime away a bit. Just get rid of some of the dust that's come through here. We'll also give this a wipe. There was some grime on it earlier. And put it all together, minimize the amount of dust getting in. So here's my new set. Everything's new. It comes with a spring, a spacer, and the 2 cassettes. And we'll just check that this is 16 and 13. So yeah, we've got a 16 and we have the 13. I've also put a bit more grease down onto the hub, and the first step is to put down the plastic cover, and that just goes down there and fits into the grooves. Now also, you notice there's some grease on the sides here, which I'm going to clean away, because that's all it's going to do is attract grit and grime. So I'm going to give that all a clean and get all of that off. So once we've made sure all the grease is cleaned off so that it doesn't attract any dust and mud, we are now going to pop in the first. The 16 goes in first, and there's no other way to put this, but just make sure that the top is facing outwards, and that's the back surface, so you want the top facing outwards, and that goes in, and then find the slot where it fits in. This takes a little wiggling. You can see there's a wider one here, and that's what we need to find. That's it. That's in. So next goes the spacer, which fits in above that. Pop the spacer in. It should slot there. Then 13 faces up. That's the back surface of the 13, and you want it the smooth surface facing up. And again, find the right slot for the wider one. That goes in there. So there we go. That's replacing the cassette. That's in, and the last part is to replace the spring. Now again, you can use a screwdriver and try and get one end in. Takes a bit of fiddling occasionally. So I find it easy to hold the opposite end and then go down on the side, and that levers slide in. And try and get this in. And once you've got at least 2 in, then it's a bit easier. Make sure it's all in place, push it down. And that's now all in place, running freely, no grit. Now this is a good opportunity to make sure that the other side's nice and clean, there's no dust, and there's a bit of grit here. Just going to give it a clean, make sure it's absolutely clear. Give that a wipe. So one rear sprocket system now in place. Now with the rear wheel removed, it's a good opportunity to inspect the under part of the mud guards, the brakes, and just make sure everything's okay, and also give everything a good clean, and that's what I'm going to do now. So we've given everything I've given everything a good clean under here. And got rid of all the mud from the mud guards. Just made sure the where we're going to replace all the nuts and bolts is grit free, grime free. So that's all nice and clean. And now the next step is to put everything back together. Essentially, that slots back in. Bit of a wiggle to the brakes. More push. I find it easier just to lever it in, and there we go, that's in. And now we need to fix. I'm going to start with the opposite side bolt. So first we need to put in our holder, I think, and it says, it points to which is the top end, and that just goes in on the top. It's easier to do this side, so it holds everything in place. There we go. And put our nut in. That's one side done. So give everything a good wipe. So just make sure everything's nice and clean and grit free. So give it a good wipe. So I actually just use some baby wipes to wipe things, especially when the bike's up on the bike stand. It's just much easier. So that goes in again. Top, it says top, top side in. Replace that. So there we go, that's in. Now this side I am going to tighten first. That's tight, not too tight, there we go. The next step is to replace our chain tensioner. Chain tensioner is obviously untensioned at the moment, but that's the way it would normally sit. So that wheel needs to sit under this chain guide. That's the way it fits in. And then we'll replace our nut here. So that goes in, and we'll remove that. Chain guide in. So our tensioner is in. Now the next step is to connect up the Sturmy Archer again. Just make sure we have our little nut back on, which remember which I marked earlier, so I know where to put it back to, what level to put it back on to. And that's my level. Now this is quite simple. You pull to give you some length, hold the tension, and screw back in. And the final step is to put on a new chain. You hang down there and then through the back. Big set. Put in one of the sprockets, and then we need to thread it through first this, which is the bottom or the initial one. We're going to thread that through. So that's the first one through. Then pull that down, that goes behind it. And there we go. Make sure that doesn't slip off. And now we have our chain ready to be put back into place. Now you can do this part by hand or using a chain tool like this. So as I said, I find it easier to use the tool, and these just link in together. No chain removal tool or insertion tool is needed for this, for the Brompton chains. All we do is bring that together, lock that in, make sure holding that together with those pliers. There we are. Now it's a matter of aligning these up. So the chain just links in, and then all you do is either pull on it or pedal, and that'll come into place and locks in. So here we go. We've got our new drivetrain set in. Apart from the front derailleur, which I haven't changed the rear cassette and put in a new chain. Now the next thing is to just make sure that everything's running smoothly. And you can see I'm just testing it. It's running nice and smooth. And just go through the gears and make sure that it actually is changing smoothly. And there we go, it changes nice and smoothly and everything's working properly. Just make sure all the gears are functioning. And there we are. Today we've changed the rear cassette on a Brompton 6-speed bike, as well as the chain, and hopefully this video helps you guys to change a cassette should you need to. Thank you very much for watching.